जय श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग गंधार्विक गिरिधारी श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की
बहुत
जय।
गौरव है बेटा।
श्री
बहुत है।
हाँ हाँ।
इनका
श्री
तो
गोविंद
ठंडा हो
गोपी
गया।
अच्छा। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जू की जय। नित्यालप विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्री गुरुदेव की जय। नित्यालप विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्यालप विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति वेदांत साई महाराज श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्याल विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जय। नित्याल विष्णु विष्णुपार शतर शत शिशुमार भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय। नित्याल विष्णु महाभागवत श्री गोक्षरस बाबाजी महाराज की जय। नित्याल विश्व शुद्ध सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नित्याल विष्णु वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबूजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपानु गौरिया गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम जय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट विराट गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री मुनि देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति वृंद देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री चैतन्य भागवत की जय। जय श्री वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय। कृष्ण लीला व्यास वृंदावन दास ठाकुर की जय। श्री नारायण तृतीय शुभ आविर्भाव तिथि की जय। श्री नारायणी देवी की जय। जय श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्ण। One second, let's find, let you see what I'm doing. Let's find a special Mangala Charan in honor of Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura. Let's see, we used to do this here, Chaitanya Bhagavat Mangala Charan. Okay, let's do, we did a different Mangala Charan for Adi Khanda, Madhya Khanda, and Antya Khanda when we're doing a program. I guess I'll do the Adi Khanda one. अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। आजानुलम्बितभुजौ कनकावदातो सङ्कीर्तनैकपितरो कमलायताक्षौ विश्वम्भरो द्विजवरो युगधर्मपालो वन्दे जगत्प्रियकरो करुणावतारो। नमस्त्रिकालसत्याय जगन्नाथसुताय च सभृत्याय सपुत्राय सकलत्राय ते नमः। अवतीर्णौ सकारुण्यौ परिचिन्नौ सरीश्वरो श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य नित्यानन्दौ द्वौ भ्रातरौ भजे। सजयति विशुद्धविक्रमा कनकाभकमलायते क्षणा वरजानुविलम्बि षड्भुजो बहुधा भक्तिरसाभिनर्तका जयति जयति देव कृष्ण चैतन्य चन्द्रो जयति जयति कीर्तिस्तस्य नित्या पवित्रा जयति जयति भृत्यास्तस्य विश्वेशमूर्तेर् जयति जयति नृत्यां तस्य सर्वप्रियाणाम् आद्य श्री चैतन्य प्रिय गोष्ठीर्चरणे अशेष प्रकारे मोर्दंड परनामे तबे वंदो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य महेश्वर नवद्वीपे अवतार नाम विश्वम्भर तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय देवी त्वां नायमां चरणन्तिकम् भक्त्या विहीना अपराधलक्षाय क्षिप्ताश्च कामादितराङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वां शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम् भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna close my door. They're talking really loud outside. Haribol. 1 second. Oops, my mic wasn't plugged in that whole time. All right. Haribol. Let's see. Oh, actually, before we start, let's do the Mangala Charan. Let's sing some verses from Chaitanya Bhagavat from Chaitanya Charitamrita about the glories of Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura. We recited this every day for like 300 days or something like that. No, I think it was less than 300 days, 200 and something days. Ore mura lok shuno Chaitanya Mangala Chaitanya Mahima Jate Jani Be Shakal. So this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila chapter 8. These are verses 33 to 42. O fools, just read Sri Chaitanya Mangal. Before Chaitanya Bhagavat was called Chaitanya Mangal, but then later the name changed to Chaitanya Bhagavat because Lochan Das Thakur wrote Chaitanya Mangal. By reading this book, you can understand all the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna Lila Bhagavate Kohe Ved Vyas Chaitanya Lilar Vyas Vṛndāvana dāsa. As Vyasadeva has compiled all the pastimes of Lord Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam, Thakur Vṛndāvana dāsa has depicted the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Vṛndāvana dāsa koilo Chaitanya Mangal, Jahara Shravane Nashe Sarvaya Mangal. Thakur Vṛndāvana dāsa has composed Sri Chaitanya Mangal. Hearing this book annihilates all misfortune. Chaitanya nitar jate janiye mahima, jate jane Krishna bhakti siddhanter sima. By reading Chaitanya Mangal, Sri Chaitanya Mangal, one can understand all the glories and truths of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda and come to the ultimate conclusion of devotional service to Lord Krishna. Bhagavate Jota Bhakti Siddhanter Sar, Likhiyachen Iha Jani Koriya Udhar. In Sri Chaitanya Mangal, Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura has given the conclusion and essence of devotional service by quoting authoritative statements of Srimad Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Mangala Shune Jadi Pashandi Javan Sheho Mahavaishnava Hoy Tatakon. Even if a great atheist hears Sri Chaitanya Mangal, he immediately becomes a great devotee. Manushe Rachite Nare Aiche Granta Dhanya Vṛndāvana dāsa Mukhe Vakta Sri Chaitanya. The subject matter of this book is so sublime that it appears that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has personally spoken through the writings of Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura. And it also says, Manushe Rachite Nare Aiche Granta Dhanya. Such a blessed scripture. Aiche Granta Dhanya. Such a blessed scripture. Manusha Rachite Nare was not written by any human being. It wasn't written by any mortal being. It was written, spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through the mouth of Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura. That's what it says. Okay. Vṛndāvana dāsa pade koti namaskar. Aiche granta korite ho tarila sangsar. I offer millions of obeisances unto the lotus feet of Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura. No one else can write such a wonderful book for the deliverance of all fallen souls. Narayani Chaitanyer Uchishta Bhajan Tar Garbe Janmila Shri Dasa Vṛndāvan. Narayani eternally eats the remnants of the food of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura was born of her womb. Tar ki adbhuta Chaitanya Charita Varnan Jahara Shravane Shuddha Koila Tribhuvan. What a wonderful description he has given of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. Anyone in the three worlds who hears it is purified. Now this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 4.5. Shahaje vichitra madhur Chaitanya vihar Vṛndāvana dāsa mukhe amriter dhar. By nature, all the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are very wonderful and sweet. And when they are described by Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura, they become like a shower of nectar. Jai Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura ki jai. So there are so many verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita about Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura. On Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura's disappearance day, I think that was like a month ago, Vaijanti Mala Mataji, she went through the Chaitanya Charitamrita and compiled all the verses that mentioned Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura, and there were 60 verses, 60 individual verses in Chaitanya Charitamrita about Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura. So, yeah, that was really interesting. One second, let me just. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. I'm just looking at my old WhatsApp messages that I sent to Vaijanti Mala Mataji. Whoa, okay. So I went through Chaitanya Bhagavat. I should have done this on the train. Anyways, on Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura's disappearance day last year, I went through all of Chaitanya Bhagavat looking for verses about criticizing Vaishnavas. And I found so much. There's so much about criticizing Vaishnavas and also about criticizing Nityananda Prabhu. But I'm just opening up the file right now. How many pages did I find? Oh my God. 20,246 verses. All on the topic of criticizing Vaishnavas. I mean, about the warning one against criticizing Vaishnavas. So maybe we can read about Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura, and then afterwards we can go through and read some of the verses. I'll just jump around. This would be a really nice final devotion post. I didn't even think about this I arrived back in Navadip. Yeah, I arrived back in Navadip at 10 p.m. last night, and I just got back from Gurudev Samadhi. I didn't have any. I just started the video and I didn't have any plan or anything figured out. But that might be nice. Okay, so I think what we could do, we can read Srila Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Goswami Maharaj's glorification of Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura. There's also a really nice life sketch of Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura written by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada in the beginning of Chaitanya Bhagavat. I don't know which one we should read. Maybe I'll do Srila Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Goswami Maharaj's. And then after that, we can look at some of these verses about criticizing Vaishnavas, the warning one against criticizing Vaishnavas. And maybe that's what I'll do today. I'll prepare this. I'll select some of the verses and send it out on my website, vineofdevotion.com. Yeah, so if you're not subscribed to that, you can go to vineofdevotion.com, and then once I translate those, you'll receive it in your inbox. All right, so let's see who's here. Dandavat Pranams, Nri Hari Prabhu and Bhavatarani Mataji, Harivo, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, Yashoda Didi, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantramurti Mataji, Chatamai Mataji, and Nitai Mukeshji. Hare Krishna. Let's see on YouTube and Facebook. Rohini Nandan Prabhu is there, Vidyalala Siddhiti, and there are 6 other devotees, but nobody wrote a comment. So if you write a comment, I'll see your name. I'm guessing Indira Mataji is there, maybe Raseshwari Mataji, and maybe Ganga Mataji, and also all the devotees watching in the future, Shachi Devi, Haribol Kishore Prabhu, yeah, Shachi Devi, and Jayadev Prabhu. Haribol. All right, so let's begin. But yeah, look at this, 20,000 words of, usually our readings are like 5,000 words. So we have like 4 days of quotes about criticizing Vaishnavas in Chaitanya Bhagavat. You can see it's a really prominent theme all throughout. Okay, so first we're going to read from this book, Sri Chaitanya and His Associates by Srila Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Goswami Maharaj. This is a wonderful book. If you haven't done so already, you can go to Amazon and purchase the EPUB version. Or you can get the hard copy. The hard copy is a lot cheaper than it used to be. And this is such an essential book to have because how many appearance days and disappearance days are there throughout the year of all the different associates of Mahaprabhu and everybody in our Guru Parampara coming to this, and all these associates, all these personalities, our whole Guru Varga, everybody's biographies are written on this day. So this is probably the book that I come to most throughout the year. So yeah, very valuable contribution that Srila Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Goswami Maharaj gave us. Okay, so 1 second, let me just. Also, you can find all this katha on the website bbtirtha.org. You can find an online version of this book, but it's always nice to help contribute towards the publications, and it's nice to have it. Yeah, so okay. Let's begin. Vedavyaso ya evasir daso Vṛndāvano dhuna Sakhaya kusuma pida karyatas tam samavishat. So that's from Gaur Ganadashtipika, verse 109. Vedavyas became Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura. Krishna's friend Kusumapira also entered into him for the sake of the Lord's pastimes. Vedavyas described Krishna's pastimes in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Non-different from Vyas, Vṛndāvana dāsa described Mahaprabhu's pastimes in his Chaitanya Bhagavat. His book was first called Chaitanya Mangal, but when Lochan Das later gave the same name to his biography of the Lord, it was dubbed Chaitanya Bhagavat. And I really like that name, Chaitanya Bhagavat. It fits because Vyasadeva is the author of Srimad Bhagavat, and then the Chaitanya Leela's Vyas, Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura, wrote Chaitanya Bhagavat. So we have Srimad Bhagavat and Chaitanya Bhagavat. Oh, Haribo, Ramakanta Prabhu. Dandavat pranams. Okay. Vṛndāvana Dasa's mother, Narayani. Vṛndāvana Das was born on the Krishna Dwadashi of the month of Vaishak in 1429 of the Shaka era. That's 1507 AD. Some say he was born in Mamgachi in the Navadvip area. Others say his birthplace was in Kumarhatta. His father was Vaikuntanath Vipra, who originally came from Silhet. Oh, I never knew the name of his father before. Vaikuntanath Vipra. His mother was Narayani Devi. Narayani was the daughter of Srivas Pandit's elder brother, Sri Nalin Pandit. Kavi Karnapur has also mentioned her name in his Gaur Ganadash Dipika. So, Ambikaya Swasaya Sin Namni Shri Kilimbika Krishno Chishtam Prabhunjana Jana Seyam Narayani Mata. Okay. Kilimbika, who used to eat Krishna's remnants, was the younger sister of Krishna's nurse Ambika, Srivasa's wife Malini. In Mahaprabhu's Leela, she became Narayani. Narayani also achieved fame because Gaurasundar bestowed his mercy on her when he gave her his remnants. Narayani was only a small child of 4 when the Lord displayed his divine form in the Mahaprakash and Srivas Angan. But the Lord still made her intoxicated with the ecstasy of prem. Whether born in Mamgachi or Kumarhatta, Vṛndāvana Das spent part of his childhood with his mother in Mamgachi, at the home of his maternal grandparents, where Narayani was married. Vṛndāvana Dasa's Gaurnitai deities are still worshipped at the Mamgachi home. When his father died, he and his mother moved to Srivasa's house, where they received Mahaprabhu's special blessings. And we also hear Śrīla Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada mentions that we don't hear much about his father because his father wasn't actually, if I remember correctly, he said that his father wasn't totally favorable towards Mahaprabhu, actually, which is pretty shocking, huh? In the line of Srivas Thakur, we see, yeah. I mean, in Srivas, well, I guess it's not the line of Srivas Thakur, right? Because it's Narayani Devi, and Narayani Devi is fully devoted to Mahaprabhu. But anyways, he died when I think Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura was very little. Yeah. So, and when Mahaprabhu left Navadvip, I think Narayani Devi, if I remember correctly, she was 4 years old. So she received Mahaprabhu's remnants when she was very little. Vṛndāvana Das later moved to the village of Denur in the Matreshwar precinct of the Burdwan district. Thus, Denur is considered to be his Shripat. Vṛndāvana Das writes Chaitanya Bhagavat. Vṛndāvana Das received copious blessings from Nityananda Prabhu, and he is therefore said to have been his initiated disciple. I think if I remember correctly, he said that he was one of the very last disciples of Nityananda Prabhu. Vṛndāvana Das is the recipient of Nityananda Prabhu's mercy. He is the original Vyas of Chaitanya's pastimes. That's from Chaitanya Charitamrita 3:2082. He wrote Chaitanya Bhagavat in 1535 AD. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, praised him in his work in the following words. And I think these are the verses that we already read. Oh no, I don't think we read this one. Vṛndāvana Das, the son of Narayani, wrote the Chaitanya Mangal. Vedavyas described Krishna Lila in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and Vṛndāvana Das is the Vyas of Chaitanya Lila. Yeah, these are all the verses that we just read. Should we read the translation again? Why not? Okay, so Vedavyas told the story of Krishna's pastimes in Srimad Bhagavatam. Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura is Vyasadeva of the pastimes of Chaitanya. Chaitanya Lilar Vyas Vṛndāvana dāsa. His Chaitanya Mangal annihilates all misfortune. From it, I learnt the wonders of Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu and came to know all the subtlest doctrines of devotional service to Krishna. Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura has summarized the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam's teachings in his Chaitanya Mangal. If even an atheist or a Muslim should listen to Chaitanya Mangal, he immediately becomes a great Vaishnav. An ordinary human being could not have composed such a sublime work. Lord Chaitanya himself has spoken through the mouth of Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura. What was that? Manushe rachite nare aiche granta dhanya. Vṛndāvana dāsa mukhe bhakta Shri Chaitanya. That's that verse right there. I offer millions of obeisances unto the lotus feet of Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura, who has delivered the entire universe through his book. He was born in the womb of Narayani, who is Shri Chaitanya Uchishta Bhajan. She was Narayani Devi who ate the remnants of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. How wonderful is his description of the activities of the Lord. Simply by hearing them, the three worlds have become sanctified. In the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura primarily narrates Mahaprabhu's early life, such as his childhood, his student life, his chastisement of the Qazi, his departure from Navadvip, as well as some aspects of his life in Puri. He then became so absorbed in the description of Nityananda Prabhu's Leela that he only gave an abbreviated account of Mahaprabhu's later pastimes. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami then elaborated on these undescribed activities in his Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami wrote, Vṛndāvana dāsa is the authorized biographer of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and equal to Srila Vyasadeva. He has described the Lord's pastimes in a very sweet way. He was afraid of excessively enlarging his book, and so he left some parts of Mahaprabhu's pastimes untold. I shall try as far as possible to fill in these empty spaces. So that's from Chaitanya Charitamrita 1:13, 49 to 40, 48 to 49. Oh, cool. Srila Bhakti Bhagavad Goswami Maharaj has a whole section about Vṛndāvana Dasa's criticism of Vaishnava Aparad. Yeah, I remember that was like one of the most prominent things that was reoccurring throughout Chaitanya Bhagavat. It seems like in every other chapter, it felt like every other chapter, he'd go through this point of how serious Vaishnava Aparad is. So, Vṛndāvana dāsa showed infinite mercy on the fallen souls by warning them. Eto parihare oje papi ninda kore, tabe lati maro tar shirer upare. He said, if someone still blasphemes the Vaishnavas, even after being told how objectionable it is, I will kick him in the head. These same words are repeated several times throughout Chaitanya Bhagavat. Some foolish and arrogant persons misunderstood such statements, and they criticized Vṛndāvana dāsa for having made them. Such criticism leads them to be mired in the bog of Vaishnav Aparad. In this connection, the remarks of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada, the founder of Sri Chaitanya Math and all the Gaudiya Maths, are well worth studying. He said, I am even ready to kick the heads of those envious and hellish persons who blaspheme Nityananda Prabhu, to forever prevent them from repeating their attempts to show disrespect for the Supreme Lord. Not only that, by doing so, I can bring about a clear conception of the truth, and I'll be offering them the greatest service. So Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, he continues, with these words, the Thakur reveals compassion for even the most atheistic blasphemer, with the unswerving faith appropriate to a servant of Nityananda Prabhu, the Supreme Guru. By this, he instructs that though such people are an object of indifference due to their foolishness, their ignorance of the truth of Nityananda Prabhu, their insistence on rushing headlong on the path to hell, and their reluctance to act in their own real self-interests, nevertheless, even though these people are so sinful like that, he and other compassionate Vaishnavas like him, who practice and preach the Lord's doctrines, act for their welfare, selflessly and causelessly. Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura is a servant of Nityananda Prabhu, who is an avatar of Vyas. He is a servant of Nityananda Prabhu, that Vṛndāvana dāsa, who is an avatar of Vyasadeva, an acharya of the Vaishnava faith. If even a single fleck of dust should fall from Vṛndāvana dāsa's foot onto the head of a sinful blasphemer, then that person will be blessed, and all his sinful conditioning will inevitably be eradicated. The compassion of Vishnu and Vaishnavas is beyond the comprehension of those who do not know what is truly their own self-interest. Anyone who follows in the footsteps of Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura and both practices and preaches pure devotion to Gaura Krishna will always be engaged in an effort to bring about everyone's ultimate well-being. Though he may make a show of wanting to punish the enemies of the Lord, he in fact harbors a compassion toward them that knows no limit. Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura's disappearance day is the Krishna Dashami of Vaishakh. There is some dispute about the exact year of his disappearance, which was likely 1511, Shaka, which is 1589 AD. Jai Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura ki jai. All right, so that is our reading about Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura. Now let's look at some verses from Chaitanya Bhagavat about Vaishnava Parad. What I did is, I did this on Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura's disappearance day, and I just very quickly went through Chaitanya Bhagavat, and every time I saw any mention of criticizing Vaishnavas, then I put it on this Word doc. And so now I need to go through this and narrow it down. But let me fix the diacritics. 1 second. Let me put this through. If anybody ever wants to know how to do this, if you go to database.io and you go to tools, they have a section, just on database.io at the top of the screen it says tools, and there's this convert Balaram to UTF-8. That's Unicode. So this is the way to fix weird diacritics. If you ever copy anything from database. Okay, so let's. Okay, so sometime, I think today I'm going to go through all these verses and select the ones that stand out. But for now, man, I wish I would have done this on the train. I didn't think about Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura's appearance day when I was on the train. Yeah, I could have gone through all these and narrowed this down. Anyhow, all right. Okay. You know, I didn't even look up the word Vaishnava Parad yet. I just looked up the word Ninda, and then this is everything I could find. Okay, so in Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura says, where is this from? This is from Adi Kanda, chapter 9, verses 226 and onwards. So if you find any follower of Lord Chaitanya appear to say something bad about Nityananda, you should know for certain that what they said was actually glorification. And then Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada says, no pure devotee of Gaur can criticize or tolerate criticism against Sri Nityananda Prabhu. If anyone thinks that the statements of Sri Advaita Prabhu towards Sri Nityananda Prabhu were criticisms, that is simply his misunderstanding and offense. That is simply that person's misunderstanding and offense to Advaita Acharya Prabhu. One should not lose faith in the lotus feet of Nityananda, who is the only shelter and goal of all living entities. By considering the so-called criticism of Nityananda to be criticism, when it is actually glorification of Nityananda Prabhu. Yeah, so whenever we see Advaita Acharya say something that seems like criticism, it's actually his glorification. Vaishnavas are always pure and full of knowledge. So if there's ever any quarrel between them, you should know it is simply part of their pastimes. Important verse, huh? There's so many verses like this in Chaitanya Bhagavat. So this is Nitya Shuddha Jnanavanta Vaishnava Shakal Tabe je Kalaha Dekho Shab Kutuhal. All that Kalahal is actually Kutuhal. All that quarreling is actually Kutuhal. Kutuhal is like uh, Kutuhal is like play, pastime, fun, joking, curiosity also, I think, right? Let's see the word kutu. Oh, nah. How do you spell it? I spelled it right, I think. Kutu. Maybe as a long U. No. That's strange. I don't know why it's not coming up. Kutu hal. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I have no idea why it's not coming up. Weird. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna skip some of these. If a person takes the side of one Vaishnav and criticizes another, he is certainly vanquished. Ite eka janer hoya pakkaje, anya jane ninda kore, koi jai she. He says the same thing in different ways. We'll see throughout. And then Śrīla Saraswati Ṭhākura Prabhupada says, if someone, due to misfortune and material conceptions, considers the loving quarrels of the eternally liberated devotees, who are always eager to please Krishna, to be like the dualities enjoyed by the conditioned souls who are agitated by disturbances to their sense gratification, and thus takes the side of one Vaishnava and criticizes the other, then, as a result of his imprudence or impudence, his ruination is guaranteed. Without understanding how the most pleasing, transcendental opposing parties who nourish the pastimes of the absolute Lord Sri Gaura Krishna are wonderfully increasing their respective attachment for the Lord. If someone praises one and condemns another due to his enjoying spirit and fruit of mentality, he is certainly inviting his own downfall. In other words, he is ruining himself. And this is so relevant because we've seen so many examples, even our Guru Varga, sometimes getting in quarrels and having disagreements and stuff. But actually, it's the pastime of Mahaprabhu. It increases the ras, right? What did it say? Look, it says, without understanding how the most pleasing transcendental opposing parties, okay, so these two parties that are pitted against each other, seemingly, these parties who nourish the pastimes of the absolute Sri Gaura Krishna, so they nourish the pastimes of the absolute Sri Gaura Krishna, but they don't see how they are wonderfully increasing their respective attachment for the Lord. And then, so somebody doesn't see that they're actually wonderfully increasing their respective attachment for the Lord. And then someone praises one side and condemns another due to his enjoying spirit and fruit of mentality, then that person is certainly inviting his own downfall. In other words, he is ruining himself. Okay, so we have to understand how to see these quarrels between Vaishnavas. See, it's actually not a negative thing. It's actually a positive thing. It's a pastime. It increases their love. It's like something that should be celebrated, not condemned. So then Chaitanya Bhagavat Madhya Kanda, chapter 5. Now this is verse 137 and onwards. Nitya Shuddha Jnanavanta Vaishnava Sakal Tabe je Kalaha Deko Shab Kutuhal. Okay, so this is exactly the same verse that we already read up above here. I think it's exactly the same. What did it say? Yep, exactly the same. Nitya Shuddha Jnanavanta Vaishnava Sakal Tabe je Kalaha Deko Shab Kutuhal. Let's see, is there any difference? Nope, exactly the same verse. He repeated this verse twice. So it says, the Vaishnavas are eternally pure and full of knowledge. Their quarreling is simply a part of their pastimes. Then, okay, Śrīla Saraswati Ṭhākura Prabhupada then says again, he says, the pure Vaishnavas are full of eternally pure knowledge.
The differences of opinion seen among such exalted Vaishnavas is simply for increasing the wonders. There's actually no differences of opinion among Vaishnavas. Differences of opinion are only present among mental speculators. The differences of opinion found among Vaishnavas expands the variety of their constitutional activities. In those, there is no question of material enjoyment, renunciation, or pseudo-devotional service. And just one very important example, very something I've been learning about recently from Sundar Gopal Prabhu, from British Sundar Gopal Prabhu, who lives in Costa Rica now. So he's doing his PhD on this topic of the self and perfection, and how that became a point of contention, like that, how that became a problem in our Gaudiya, because that's something that many people have disagreements on, and there's been huge debates, massive debates. People have even left my Gurudev and taken shelter of Satyanarayan Das Babaji because of this point. Like, it's such a huge point of contention, and um, and so then, like, what people do is they pit these acharyas that seem to say different things about our swarup and perfection. Um, but the reality is they just don't understand what they're actually saying. And so Sundar Gopal, he mentioned this to me. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm not supposed to be saying because it's not like been done his thesis yet. So I'm like kind of explaining. I think it's okay though. Yeah, so Srila Sanatan Goswami, he gives an explanation of the soul and perfection according to the ecstatic bhakti tradition of the Puranas, like Bhagavat Puran, that has one type of explanation of what is the manifestation of the soul's. Now, I don't know how to explain it. Anyways, but the soul and perfection. And then Srila Rupa Goswami, he describes it in terms of um, the ras um, tradition of Sanskrit poetics, like the uh, yeah, in terms of ras, like drama, like he took from all these from the point of view of drama and ras, and that's a completely different idea of the self imperfection. And then Srila Jiva Goswami, he focused more on the Vedantic self. So he took from Vedanta, the Brahma Sutras and like that, and the Upanishads, and he described it, and also like Madhvacharya and Ramanujacharya. And so all these different viewpoints of the self are actually completely different from each other. And it's very difficult, like you can't really bring them all together and say, oh, they're all saying exactly the same thing. But it's not that they're saying something um, that's against one another. They're just interested in different things. And the example Sundar Gopal Prabhu gave me was, if you look at an old building, then a historian will see it from one perspective. They'll when they look at the building, they'll be interested in knowing about the historical context, like who was ruling at that time, and okay, this ruler, he engaged these people, and what were these people, and he'll look at all the whole situation of the society, and how the building, he'll look at it historically like that. But then an engineer will look at it and like, oh, this place has lots of earthquakes, and how did the structure after so many hundreds of years, how did it not fall down in these earthquakes? So he'll be looking at that in those terms. And then an architect will be interested in the design and like how it looks and the style and all that kind of stuff. And so even though they're saying completely different things, and you can't, bring them all together and saying they're saying the same thing, but they also are not in contradiction with each other. They're just interested in different things. And so, um, all this contention, really, like most of this contention about the soul and perfection, is because people don't understand that they get confused because they're like, but no, Rupa Goswami said this. No, but Jiva Goswami said this, and we have to follow Jiva Goswami. No, Sanatana Goswami. And then wait, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying this, but then no, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's saying this. Oh, he invented something new, but they don't understand actually that they aren't able to understand what all these personalities were doing. And Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he did something revolutionary. He took the essence from Rupa Goswami, from Sanatana Goswami, from Jiva Goswami, and he brought them, the essence of them all together in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it's really Chaitanya Charitamrita which like really shaped our understanding of our whole philosophy. We would be lost if we didn't have Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he further made it like even more clear and did such an amazing thing that Sundar Gopal was mentioning that he says actually he doesn't think many people actually realize what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was doing. It's anyways, sorry, I'm going on a whole tangent, but it's just one example of seeing how, even though it seems like acharyas are saying completely opposite things to each other, and there's no way to bring it. Actually, if you look at it in a deeper way, everything can always be reconciled. And also there's Sundar Gopal also mentioned something. I think it's in a Laghu Bhagavatamrita by Srila Rupa Goswami, and maybe it was, I can't remember if Srila Rupa Goswami said it or if Srila Baladev Vijayabhushan said it in his commentary. But there's some verse, I have to look back at this message that he sent me, but there's some verse in there where the, I think, yeah, it's either Rupa Goswami or Baladev Vijayabhushan says that if there's a certain siddhanta, and one acharya says one siddhanta, and another acharya says a different siddhanta, then we should, in a mood of humility, accept one of the siddhanta that we understand most, that makes sense to us, and then also give honor to the other siddhanta, even though we don't need to fully embrace it and accept it, but we should give honor to the Vaishnava who's saying it and give honor to the siddhanta that they're establishing. It doesn't mean that we just need to all of a sudden accept everything and like, say, I believe this, but we should always give honor to the teaching and the person giving the teaching, even if we don't accept it ourselves. So that was another point. Okay. Oh my God, I explained that took so long. But anyways, this is a topic that eventually, whenever Sundar Gopal's thesis is available, I'd really love to go through this topic. He told me something and it was so fascinating. And yeah, anyways. Okay. So if someone who has lost his intelligence and does not, okay, so this is same chapter 5 of Adi Kanda, of Madhya Kanda. It's continuing on. He says, if someone who has lost his intelligence and does not understand this, worships one and criticizes the other, he will be ruined. Those Vaishnavas that seem to be quarreling with each other. He will be ruined. And then Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada says, those who do not understand this fact and consider that one Vaishnav has eternally pure knowledge while another Vaishnav does not, are understood to have perverted intelligence. The confidential mystery in this regard is that if one accepts a non-Vaishnav as a Vaishnav without knowing the difference between a Vaishnav and a non-Vaishnav, then such a misconception will spread among the Vaishnavas and create bewilderment. And then Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura gives a Sanskrit verse. It says, Abhyarchaitva pratimasu vishnum nindanjane sarvakatam tameva abhyarchapado hi dvijasa murdhi duruhya nivagyo narakam prayati. Just as a foolish person who worships the feet of a Brahmin and then beats him in the head goes to hell. So person worships a Brahmin and then beats him in the head. So just like somebody like that goes to hell, one who worships the deity form of Lord Vishnu and then disrespects that same Lord who is situated in the hearts of all living entities also goes to hell. And so then Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada says, in this regard, one should discuss Srimad Bhagavatam 3:29, 21 to 24, and 11:5, 14 to 15. This is reminding me of, oh God, what is the pastime ugh, I'm trying to remember. Okay, there's a pastime. Did we read about it recently? I have such a bad memory. But I think it had to do with um there was somebody who was chanting the name of Ram while passing stool because some oh God, I forgot the details, but he was told that um, you have to chant some sadhu told him you have to chant the name of Ram, and then otherwise you'll never be delivered or whatever. I think it was a hunter or something like that maybe, and he's like, oh no, I don't have any time to chant Ram, and he's like, well, what do you do when you're passing stool? He's like, nothing. And he's like, okay, well, you can chant during that time. Can you chant while you pass stool? And he's like, okay, yeah, I have time to chant while I pass stool. And so then he would chant Ram, 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 Ram while he was passing stool. And then Hanuman heard this, and Hanuman saw this person was passing stool and chanting the name of Ram. So then Hanuman went and from behind and kicked him in the back. And then Hanuman, when he went back to Lord Ram, then Ram was like laying down in bed, like in pain, and said, "Oh," and then Hanuman said, "What happened, Lord?" And then Ram said, "You did this to me." And then Hanuman said, What? He's like, when that person was chanting my name, I was present in him. He was chanting, I'm non-different from my name. Nam and Nami are non-different. And so he was chanting Ram, and I'm non-different from that name. And so then when you kicked him, you actually kicked me. And so, why was I telling that pastime? Oh, yeah, just this verse. It says that it gives an example like somebody worships the feet of a Brahmin and then beats him in the head, that person goes to hell. So, in the same way, somebody worships the deity of Lord Vishnu, but then disrespects that same Lord who is situated in the hearts of all living entities. So, I think it also means if the Lord is fully present, Tomar Hriday Sata Govinda Vishram, right? The Lord is always present within the heart of the Vaishnavas. And so, if you do anything to a Vaishnav, actually, it says all the living hearts of all living entities, even. But yeah, anyways, in that way, the Lord's non-different from his devotee because he's always in the devotee's heart, right? And so if you do anything to that devotee, then you're actually doing that directly to Krishna. If you're criticizing a pure Mahabhagavat Vaishnava, it's worse than criticizing Lord Vishnu. It's more upsetting to him. Anyways, that's a whole topic. But okay, so oh, it's 8 o'clock already. Okay, let's just finish the verses in this chapter. So Vaishnava hingsar kata she thakuk dure sahaje jivere je adhama pida kore Vishnu pujiya oje prajar pida kore puja o nishpale jai ar dukhe more. So what to speak of being envious of Vaishnavas? If one causes pain to ordinary living entities, he is considered a fallen low-class person. Even after worshipping Lord Vishnu, if a person gives trouble to other living entities, his worship becomes fruitless. Such a person suffers unlimited miseries. So, what to speak of a Vaishnav, even any living entity? Then Śrīla Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada says, if a person is knowingly or unknowingly envious of a Vaishnav engaged in the non-duplicitous service of Lord Hari, the sincere service, Nishkapat Seva of Lord Hari, his degradation is inevitable. Of this, there is no doubt. Apart from this, if even persons claiming to be devotees of Vishnu are envious of ordinary living entities and give various troubles to them, they are actually far away from devotional service to Vishnu and are not fit to be called human beings. Their worship of Vishnu becomes the source of misery. Those endowed with the absence of jive doya or compassion for other living entities, and yet proudly consider themselves servants of Lord Vishnu, achieve the threefold miseries rather than the devotional service of the Lord. Sarva bhute achen Shri Vishnu na janiya, Vishnu puja kore ati prakrita hoya. The worship of persons who do not know that Lord Vishnu is present within the heart of every living entity is certainly materialistic. Activities performed, this is Śrīla Saraswati Prabhupada, he says, activities performed through mental senses, material senses, by conditioned souls who desire to enjoy the results are called prakrit, are materialistic. Those who consider that the Supersoul, Lord Vishnu, is not present within each and every atom of gross and subtle matter, and consider that he does not exist within the hearts of all living entities, such persons' worship of Vishnu is simply cheating and materialistic rascaldom. Now, ek hasti jeno vipra charana pakale, ar haste dhela mare matai kopale. The worship is like someone who washes the feet of a Brahmin with one hand and beats him on the head with his other hand. Then Śrīla Saraswati Ṭhākura Prabhupada says, by becoming envious of living entities, one automatically becomes envious of Lord Vishnu, who is situated in their hearts, as it is inconsistent of a person who hits the head of a Brahmin with a stone with one hand and washes his feet with the other hand. Similarly, if one worships Lord Vishnu but is indifferent to the worship of a Vaishnav, who is non-different from Vishnu, then that worship becomes the source of misery. Eshab loker ki kushal kon khane hoyache hoibek bhujo bhavi mane. Consider carefully. Have such persons ever been benefited? Or will they ever be benefited? Then Śrīla Saraswati Ṭhākura Prabhupada says, those who discriminate between Hari, Guru, and Vaishnav and worship one while criticizing another will never, ever attain any auspiciousness. This is simple to understand. Jota pap hoy praja janere hinkshile, tar shataguna hoy Vaishnava nindile. It is 100 times more sinful to blaspheme a Vaishnav than to be envious of ordinary living entities. Okay, so we see how bad it is to be envious of other ordinary living entities, but it's 100 times more sinful to blaspheme a Vaishnav. And then Śrīla Saraswati Ṭhākura Prabhupada says, Lord Vishnu is situated in the heart of every human being. And although Vaishnavas appear to be ordinary human beings, they are always situated as Vaishnavas due to their inclination towards the service of Lord Vishnu residing in their hearts. Ordinary human beings are bereft of the service of Vishnu and are situated in the modes of passion and ignorance, whereas Vaishnavas are fully saturated with the mode of goodness and are constantly engaged in the service of Vishnu. So if one carefully considers the differences that exist between them, then it is understood that by envying a Vaishnava engaged in service of Vishnu, one incurs 100 times more sins or offenses than by envying an ordinary living entity. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 4.4.13, it is stated, Nashcharyam etad yad asatsu sarvada mahad vininda gunapatmavadishu. I'm not going to read the full verse. It says, it is not wonderful for persons who have accepted the transient material body as a self to engage always in deriding great souls. Such envy on the part of materialistic persons is very good, because that is the way they fall down. If they are diminished by the dust of the feet of they are diminished by the dust of the feet of great personalities. Okay, and the Skanda Purana gives a bunch of these verses here. Okay, this is a long commentary. Oh, God. Okay, I'm just going to read the translations, not the... Yeah. So it says in the Skanda Puran, and then we'll end right after this. My dear king, if one derides an exalted devotee, he loses the results of his pious activities, his opulence, his reputation, and his sons. Vaishnavas are all great souls. Whoever blasphemes them falls down to the hell known as Maharodav. He is also accompanied by his forefathers. Whoever kills or blasphemes a Vaishnav, whoever is envious of or angry with a Vaishnav, and whoever does not offer obeisances or feel joy upon seeing a Vaishnav, certainly falls into a hellish condition. Oh, that's that famous verse. Hanti nindanti vaidveshti, Vaishnavam na vinadanti. That verse. Where is it? Hanti nindanti vaidveshti, Vaishnavam na vinandati, krudate yati no harsham, darshane patanani shat. Even no harsham darshane. That means who isn't happy upon seeing a Vaishnav. That person also falls down into a hellish condition. O ruler of the world, one who first respects a Vaishnav and then later insults him is vanquished along with his family. And then in the Amrita Sarodhar, it is stated, I'm going to skip the Sanskrit, If one gives pain to Vaishnavas, then the results of his pious activities like high birth and high caste are all destroyed. In the Dwarka Mahatma, it is said, I'm skipping the Sanskrit, it says, those most sinful people who criticize great Vaishnavas are subjected by Yamaraj to the severe punishment of being sliced into pieces by very sharp saws. Okay. Lord Hari, the super soul of the entire universe, is never pleased with the miscreant who insults a Vaishnav, even if he has worshipped Vishnu for hundreds of births. Even if you worship Vishnu for hundreds of births, but you insult a Vaishnav, then the super soul, Lord Hari, will never be pleased with that miscreant. What is the punishment? Being sliced by pieces of very sharp saws. Okay, you want to be sliced to pieces by sharp saws? Okay, now this is from the Brahma Vivarta Purana, Krishna Janmakanda. So there it is stated, skipping the Sanskrit, those who criticize Lord Hrishikesh and his devotees lose all the benefits accrued in 100 pious births. Such cinders rot in the Kumbhipaka hell and are eaten by hordes of worms for as long as the sun and moon exist. Oh my God, wow. As long as the sun and moon exist, they'll be eaten by worms, hordes of worms in Kumbhipaka hell. If one sees a person who blasphemes Lord Vishnu and his Vaishnavas, if one just even sees a person who blasphemes Lord Vishnu and his devotees, then the results of all his pious activities are lost. When learned persons see such non-Vaishnavas, they purify themselves by taking bath in the Ganga and looking at the sun. Okay, so next time you even see an offender of the Vaishnavas, then it says take bath in the Ganga. Maybe you can recite the apavitra pavitra va sarvasa, that mantra, and then look at the sun. Purify your eyes by looking at the sun. Right? So we just went 8 minutes over time, and let's see how much more is there left. We are on page 16 of 192. So we didn't even crack it. We really didn't even make it 10% or 5% through. Yeah, there is so many verses all throughout Chaitanya Bhagavat about criticizing Vaishnavas. It's like the main emphasis that you gave in all of Chaitanya Bhagavat, I think. So yeah, is it worth it? And also there's a beautiful book by Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj called The Heart of Sri Krishna. In Bengali, it was translated as Vaishnava Parad. And that it's a full book all on the topic of how serious it is to criticize Vaishnava. So if we could just not do that, everything will be all right. But all our problems come because of that. Probably one of the things I quote most is this quote from Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura from Srimad Bhagavatam. You've heard me say it a million times, but he says, for those who have not criticized Vaishnavas, who have not made aparad towards Vaishnavas, they don't have to go through this whole long process to achieve perfection. All these different stages of Shraddha, Sadhu, Sangha, Bhajana, Kriya, all this Anartha Nivritti, and all this struggle, and they only have 2 steps. They just have to chant the name, and the name is so powerful that it can just purify that person, and boom, they get shot off to Vaikuntha. They just quickly ascend to Vaikuntha. It's Nam Grahan, Vaikuntha Arohan, only 2 steps. But every single difficulty that we go through in our spiritual life, the reason why chanting is so boring and why we struggle and all these anarthas and why Harinam is not having access and it's not able to have its effect on us is because of aparad. If we could just refrain from that, everything else will be taken care of automatically. So Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura was probably the acharya who emphasized this point most of anybody. And so on his appearance day, we can pray at his lotus feet that one drop of these instructions, we'll take these instructions seriously that he's giving us so much emphasis on. We'll begin to take it seriously, and very quickly, everything else will fall into place. So, Jai Vaishnav Thakur ki Jai. Okay, just do a quick Mahamantra and then we'll end. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Bol, Hare Bol, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, Nitai Gaur, Haribol, 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 Gaur, Haribol. And we're putting a lot of songs by Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura in the Gaudiya Gita Gucha. Well, a few extra songs. But a nice song to sing today in honor of Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura. I think he'd be very happy to sing in the Gaudiya Gita Gucha. You can see Jai Jai Nityananda Rohini Kumar, because Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura. I compiled two documents together. One was all the documents about on the topic of criticizing Vaishnavas, and then I made another document on all the verses about criticizing Nityananda Prabhu. That was also something that he gave a lot of emphasis all throughout Chaitanya Bhagavat. He says this thing about, I'll kick the head of anybody who blasphemes my Lord Nityananda. Like he says that all throughout Chaitanya Bhagavat. So yeah, 2 points that you really. All right. One of the funnest chapters of Chaitanya Bhagavat is, and the Antya Kanda is one of the last chapters. I forgot what number it is, but he goes through Nityananda Prabhu is traveling throughout Bengal with the Dwadash Gopal, with the 12 Gopalas, his associates, and all the activities they do. They were so wild. They dressed like cowherd boys, and they'd be doing kirtan, and like they'd run in one direction. They're like, we're going to Vrindavan, and then they'd go in one direction, and they went in the complete opposite direction. And then they said, where is is this the way to Vrindavan? They're like, the person would be like, oh, Baba, you're going in the opposite direction. It's that way. And then they would laugh, and then they'd again go in the wrong direction, and then like 20 kilometers, and then ask again. And then the person, and like that, they were just completely blissfully unaware of the whole external world. And they would like jump from trees to trees and like uproot trees and play the tree like a flute, and like really wild pastimes, jump in the water with crocodiles, and like, and they were like completely wild. And it also talks about all the kids that saw Nityananda Prabhu, just like the village kids, became so attached to Nityananda Prabhu, and he even like tied up a kid and like beat him, but the kids would still never leave him. Like it is so, that chapter is just so wild and fun and blissful. Nityananda Prabhu and his associates especially. It's so wonderful to hear about his associates. But yeah, that's Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura. He's in that party of Nityananda Prabhu. So today especially we can also glorify Nityananda Prabhu and maybe sing that song Jai Jai Nityananda Rohini Kumar. We're also adding another song by Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura about Nityananda Prabhu called Dekho Nitai Chander Madhuri. It's very beautiful about the beauty of Nityananda Prabhu. And we're adding in a few others also. So all right, sorry, I'm talking way too much. Jai Shri Sachinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Jai Shriman Nityananda Ram Ki Jai. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai. Jai Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Jai Srila Param Gurudev Ki Jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Swapashad Shri Gaur Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Gan Ki Jai. Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrindadevi Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Jai Shriman Nityananda Ram Ki Jai. Jai Shri Dadash Gopal Ki Jai. Jai Śrīla Vṛndāvana dāsa Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Jai Śrīla Tvadiya Shubha Avirbhav Titi Ki Jai. Shri Narayani Devi Ki Jai. Jai Shri Chaitanya Bhagavat Ki Jai. Jai Shri, what is it? Mamgachi Ki Jai. Shri Kumar Hatta Ki Jai. Shri Denuda Ki Jai. Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhu Bhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Yeah, so as you saw, we didn't even barely scratch the surface of all the verses in Chaitanya Bhagavat on the topic of Vaishnava Parad. Didn't even get, 5%? I'm terrible at math, but we made it of 192 pages. 192 pages, we only made it to 15 pages. So there's a lot. It's pretty amazing. Um, so yeah, thank you everybody for joining our program today. I'm not sure actually now after seeing that how many verses there are. I'm feeling a bit intimidated, but maybe I'll just go through and translate a few verses on the topic of Vaishnava Parad from Chaitanya Bhagavat. Maybe it could become a series, and eventually I'll translate a lot of them at least. But yeah, I think I'm going to do that today. Yeah, and then I'll send it out on Vine of Devotion. All right, Dandavat Pranams, Nuri Hari Prabhu, Bhavatarani Mataji, Sarveshwari Mataji, Chattamai Mataji, Yashoda Mataji, Anadi Krishna Prabhu, um, and then on YouTube and Facebook, Rohini Nandan Prabhu, Vidya Lala Sadidi, Kishore Prabhu, Ramakanta Prabhu. I already said Vidya Lala Sadidi, right? Yeah. Um, and then Shubhananda Prabhu, Gargarajji, I'm guessing Indira Mataji, and so many other devotees. If you write a comment, I'll see your name. But and also pronouns to all the devotees watching in the future, like Shachi Devi and Jayadev Prabhu. Oh, and I saw Revati Didi the other day. She wrote a comment. So yeah, Dandavat pranams to Revati Didi and everybody else. Haribol. So tomorrow we will read. What are we reading? We're going to. God, my. Oh yeah, we're going to continue reading Bhajanahasya. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it, but I would like to go through Bhajanahasya and just get an overview of the chapter, like the different topics, so that we. I find that so helpful just to have a basic overview of the whole chapter, and then you know where you are, you know what's coming up. So I'd also like to do that tomorrow if I get around to it. But I think we'll finish the first chapter of Chaitanya of Bhajanahasya tomorrow. So, all right, Dandavat pranams. Haribol. Oh, is there anything anybody wants to mention before I end the stream for today? Okay. Jai Ho. Haribol. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Oh, Hare Krishna Shasharmaji. Haribol.